Testing, testing, testing. Okay, what is going on? YouTube is Zol Psycho, and I am back with another video. It is your professional yapper here to return, and I'm here to talk about my boy Deku. My Hero Academia released right when I was getting to high school, so I immediately latched onto it and its characters. I thought they were like so cool. It was like right after Naruto ended, so I needed something to fill the void. It was man, it was an emotional time for me. I was getting to high school. Naruto just ended. Like I'm like just looking for something to latch onto, and My Hero Academia was right there in 2014, and it got to a point where there was a time I was calling it my favorite manga of all time. This was around the sports festival arc. I had my own vision on what I thought Deku would turn into. I had my own vision on what the manga was going to become after the sports festival arc, and it got better after that, and I feel like it really peaked around the overhaul arc, like when Overhaul first made his appearance in the manga, and then after that, things got like really crazy, and then a little bit later some of the cracks began to show. I saw Deku back then as like the new teen Gohan, with the way he stands up to bullies and he's gaining confidence in the story as it goes on. But then the story continued, and then some things began to reveal themselves to me. Now, don't get me wrong, My Hero was never ever bad. I'll never call it bad, but there are certain paths that the story took that just didn't really sit with me personally. It didn't sit with a lot of people personally. I know that when it comes to like the editorial positions of Shonen Jump, I believe My Hero went through like 3 editors during its runtime, and those editors hold a lot of power in Shonen Jump, and they dictated a lot of what went on in the story. So when it comes to like paths that the story took, I'm only going to talk about a couple of them today, because there's a lot of things that kind of irked me a little bit with the story. Now, when My Hero Academia ended, it was pretty controversial. People were saying all for nothing, calling Deku an NPC and whatnot. And I don't completely agree with those guys. Honestly, I think most of the discourse is from people who haven't even read the manga. Now, listen, with the ending, I think it's fine. It's not great. It's not bad. But after reading it, I just don't feel all that satisfied. I'm just like, damn, like that was it. Like I wasn't expecting the best ending ever. Honestly, I was kind of checked out of the manga at the time, because personally, I didn't really like the whole war arc in the final battle. I felt like the pacing drastically changed from how it was from the first part of the story, and then once it got to around like the war arc, things started like slowing down a lot. Like before, like the pacing was like very fast, and then once it got to like around the war arc, I felt like we skipped like 2 or 3 arcs, you know. So yeah, I feel like we could have had like at least 2 or 3 arcs before this one, and it all just came too soon, way too fast. I feel like this arc should have came like around like the 3rd year, when like Deku and the rest of Class 1A were in school. But the thing is, like, the more things escalate in the story with Overhaul, All for One, and stuff like that, it's like the Shonen Jump formula is that you need to keep on escalating. You can't really go back once you reveal like certain things in the story, and once the power scaling gets like super high, you gotta keep escalating from there. Now, I understand that they wanted to go back to all the school stuff, like after the All for One shit and all that stuff, but the thing is, I feel like we kind of saw All for One, and we saw that confrontation with All Might a little bit too early. Like, I know they was trying to generate hype, but I feel like it kind of spiraled out of control to the point where after that All for One stuff, we're like, okay, what's next? We're like itching for the next big event when it comes to My Hero, and it's almost like, at least with the US audience, we didn't really care about all the school stuff. We just wanted to see them like do all the hero bits, and the story delivered. Like, we got to see them out patrolling and stuff like that, actually like, doing hero work. But the thing is, this is still their first semester. you know Oh, it was like crazy how much they kind of packed into those what was it, like 5, 6, 7 months of like canon story that we went through. And aside, and also those movies are canon too from what I heard. So I'm like, we can't take our time anymore with these things. But yeah, then the ending came, and after experiencing that, I began to think like, damn, Deku didn't really change that much from the start of the manga. He's just kind of the same, and I don't really like it. Now, I don't think that's a huge flaw of the writing. I'm not a mangaka. I'm not writing a manga. I'm not drawing a manga. But in my opinion, I felt like a lot of other characters got way better writing and development than Deku, and I just do not like that. I don't like that at all. So when it comes to other characters, I mean like Bakugo, uh, fucking Endeavor, even Uraraka, Toga, and especially Shigaraki. A lot of people, including myself, was really fucking with the Dark Deku arc because despite how short it was, because Deku changed. He's different and it called for the story to take a different direction. It was pretty cool. I'm not saying that my boy needs to turn emo or into like an anti-hero or whatever, but aside from the physical side of things, I didn't really see enough change from Deku on the mental side of things. I don't really see him challenged enough, and at first, I'm thinking that I feel this way because I read stuff like Berserk, Vagabond, Villain Saga, Chainsaw Man, Hunter x Hunter. You know, most of those that I mentioned aren't really shonen. Another one I would like to mention is Attack on Titan. You know, with the changes that happened with Eren or with Hunter x Hunter, Gon didn't really change that much, but the story revealed like a different side to his character in the world, like challenged him on who he was as a person. So I began to think to myself like Naruto is a shonen, right? And we essentially watched him grow up from a brat who didn't know any better to a young man trying to spread peace. He wanted to become Hokage to be respected and to get attention initially, but he didn't fully understand what being Hokage fully meant until later on in the series. He learned, gained some maturity, and grew as a person. I thought we was going to see a similar growth with Deku. We don't really see this with Deku that much at all. Aside from being an All Might fanboy, he already is pretty mature. He doesn't really have that much room to grow when it comes to his philosophy on what being a hero is and stuff like that. He already knows for the most part what being the number one hero is and what it should look like for him. He was kind of set up for it from the start. And yes, he worked to control his quirk, but it's quite literally the strongest quirk in the whole world. And honestly, I was looking back at some of the fights. He didn't really have to think that much beyond the Todoroki fight. Like when it came to what was that guy called, Muscular, he kind of just brute forced his way through that fight. Or with Gentle Criminal, he was using some strategy in that fight, but he kind of just beat his ass. And you know, I felt like Deku was a little bit challenged on his philosophy on like hero work and stuff like that during like the Lady Nagant stuff and the Dark Deku arc. But the thing is, that arc was way too short. I feel like that stuff could have been explored a lot more throughout the story. And other things like in regards to like the story and the writing, like we're told that Deku is smart, his intellect is very high, but he can kind of just beat the shit out of people because of the massive strength disparity. I think it would have been cool if maybe Deku had a different quirk, if at all, or was forced into, or if he was like forced into situations where he would be forced to heavily strategize. Kind of like in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, we have characters like Josuke, both Josuke's really, Bruno, Jotaro. They can't rely on their strength all the time to win fights. It's a big factor, it's a major factor, and it's their win condition. But getting to that win condition is where the interesting part comes through those fights. My Hero Academia mainly focuses on the emotional aspect of these fight scenes, which is very cool. I just wish there was a bit more of the other side to it. I was man, I was so annoyed when Deku kept saying that he was going to save Shigaraki and stuff like that. I'm like, bro, he has killed so many people and will continue to do so. Like, please fucking stop it. Like, I'm not asking for Deku to just start offing villains, just start fucking killing villains and shit like that, but challenge him a little bit. Make him second guess if he should really kill Shigaraki, if he really has no choice. Go deeper into that stuff, because correct me if I'm wrong, that didn't really happen. It's what makes characters like Batman and Spider-Man so compelling. Two heroes that Horikoshi takes heavy inspiration from. They do have those dark thoughts sometimes. Sometimes, like, maybe they should kill their adversaries. They have those thoughts. Maybe everything would be better if Batman killed the Joker, or Spider-Man just cleared out all of his villains. Deku is, for the most part, unwavering in the side of him. I think if that Dark Deku arc went a little longer, or if we had a couple more after that, hell, maybe before, we could have explored that a little bit more. Now, a big reason I made this video is this right here. My guy rated, my guy waited 8 years to try to be an actual hero out in the field and shit. Like, I know that he's supposed to follow the law, but I think it would have been interesting to see Deku chase his dreams and save people despite being quirkless. We see a bit of it in the beginning when he tries to save Bakugo from this slime guy, and then a chapter or two later, he gets a quirk. I think it would have been cool to see him still looking to be a hero, maybe not on the front line KOing villains and shit like that, but in other ways. I feel like we could have shown more of Deku possibly being a vigilante, even when he didn't have his quirk. We see that in My Hero Vigilantes with Knuckle Duster and stuff like that, because a lot of people, they use this argument that you need a quirk to be a hero in My Hero Academia and stuff like that, but then we see that disproven many times within the verse with characters like Knuckle Duster, and even with Mirio. We see Mirio boxing up Overhaul after his quirk was taken away in that arc. We don't really get to see enough of that with Deku. We don't really get to see him live that much with his disability. We saw that little montage of him growing up, just being insecure and stuff like that. But I really feel like we should have seen more of that day to day. See him try to think of ways to try to pursue his dreams of becoming a hero, even with his abnormalities. And honestly, the ending comes off as Deku being a bit lazy. He doesn't actively set out for his goals unless he gets a handout from others, and I just think that's really fucking lame. So those are all of my main issues with Deku, and a little bit of my issues with like My Hero Academia as a whole. There's like multiple things I kind of don't like about My Hero. They don't ruin the whole story for me, but it kind of knocks it down from being like one of my favorite manga of all time, one of my favorite anime of all time, because I've just seen better writing, and I hope that we get to see more like from this verse. Like, I hope we get to see more spin-off manga. I hope we get to see maybe perhaps a sequel manga with a different character, because I feel like Deku's story is over. I don't really want to. I'm not interested in seeing more of Deku or anyone in class. Actually, I wouldn't even say like anyone in class for him. Anyone class 1A, because I feel like we have some interesting people from that class. But with Deku himself, I'm kind of just over Deku. Like, even during like in certain parts of the story, like I wasn't really interested in seeing Deku above other characters like Endeavor, Bakugo, Kaminari, Kirishima, Ochako, and shit like that. He's just, I don't know, he's just kind of lame, dude. But yeah, those are my thoughts. Let me know in the comment section below what you all think. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter at ZolPsycho2. And yeah, I will see you all later. Peace.